What a lovely, lovely sunny day for the fourth of our walks that I shall be involved in. There will be another one after this in Sunbridge Park Golf Course. But here we are on Mottingham Lane, and we finished just the other side of the road last Sunday. And last Sunday we walked along the natural river Quaggy up to the point on the other side of the road where it crosses over and enters this concrete channel. And one of the little sub-projects in the Quaggy link is to move this river back to where you can see it flowing in some old maps, and the channel is still actually visible. You can see the boarding and everything, so a very easy little project. So today we start here, and a lot of it's going to be natural or semi-natural. And we're going to walk to Chimbrick Meadows, which is one of Quag's great successes. We should be visiting Hedlow College, Nottingham Lane site up here. We shall then move through the New Lodge Riding School, and then in a concrete channel up to Chimbrick Meadows. It's not a very long walk, but we'll go to the other side of Chimbrick Meadows and have a look at the beginning. We're in Hedlow College. Well, we used to call this the Nature Reserve. It's been owned by various people at different times. It's been worked on by a disabled group that cleared it originally when it was a fly tip site. It used to be open all the time to the public, and now unfortunately it's not being used at all. It's all fenced off and closed off, but it's probably lovely for the wildlife, and we should see all sorts of interesting things as we go through this, including the fruits of the labours of Quag members many years ago when we came down here and did a whole lot of tree works and clearance works, and we even had a JCB in here digging out clearing out some of the ponds. So let's go down to the river. I think it's going to be easiest to do this because I never have done it before, given how the plants are really. Let's try and get the best. It is. Let's walk down to here because I've not done this before. Oh, we're being filmed.
Yes, we are.
More or less there. You could, I mean, it is very low, but clearly we could have come in here without getting through the gate, just out of interest. So we'll work our way through to the...
So is this officially... What's the status of this fencing?
No idea. No idea, Paul. I suspect it's a security thing. Yeah, I suspect it's a security thing and nothing to do with an actual boundary.
Yeah.
Just keep moving.
Right. I'm just filming this because it's absolutely beautiful here. There are some bits of it that are...
Especially with where the sun's coming.
Absolutely. We've got some wild garlic coming up over there. And willow.
Yeah, a lot of work has been done. Clearly they don't have anything.
There's some good opportunities here.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, in terms of the inns bid, because they have such a lot of Japanese knotweed here, and also Hedlow College run courses for PA 16As. actually application of pesticides.
Right.
So they could actually have a.
Yeah.
We could organise as part of this, as what I put in the bid, some sort of a team building, or their students come in and actually do the spraying. For God's sake.
Well, that means they could be part of Three Rivers cleanup.
Yes.
And do it in the Three Rivers cleanup period,
Yep.
saving Thames 21 chemicals and stuff.
Yep.
But also, it's just much better to involve as many groups as possible, because that helps to make Hadlow College aware that they've got this river at all, because clearly they're not aware. So if that, maybe when you suggest that about this being one of the sites, Hadlow College could be suggested as bringing their people down here to do the work.
And we can also
That's
train
part of
our-
a training program.
And we can also train some of our committee members. And we get a discount, because at the moment it's 80 quid for training, 120 quid for training, one course PA1 or PA6A, and £80 registration. And I think we could be able to do a deal with them.
Right.
So, we,
Okay. This is an interesting little feature. There's a bypass channel here, and when the weirs were in place, we did this massive amount of work in this site. There are some lakes, some little ponds out there, and there is a bypass channel that came back in at this point. Now clearly there's another one further down, I think, as well. Clearly it's nothing but just a wet ditch now, but it's just to let you know that there is that's what that feature is. There's a bit of history here of works done, and clearly they're gradually, nature is deciding what the site is going to look like in the end.
This is a little, this is the back of Jebbington Way. Back of Jebbington Way. The garage is here.
But if it was all right with her, it would save us, because it's quite the site's quite overgrown. It's quite tricky walking all the way back and then walking all the way around. It would make life much easier for us if we could just carry on walking in the river. Are you able to contact Claire, Rudy? Yeah. So we've walked through the site and out the other end, and if she could lock the gate on the site itself, thank you very much, Kim. That saves us a lot. That's brilliant. Cheers. Bye.
Well done.
Good.
So
All
we
right.
leave the cars in the car park then?
Yeah.
Locked in?
Yeah.
They've already locked in, so
No.
The car parks for
No,
the
no.
garden centre as well, isn't it? So presumably that
The
stays
garden
open.
centre doesn't exist anymore.
Oh,
No,
I
the
see.
car park's completely separate from the gate into here.
Oh, good.
You know,
They
that's,
won't lock the car park gate though.
well, I don't think so. If they do, we'll have to
Well, you can phone them
find a way
presumably,
around
and-
that.
yeah.
They've got people coming in. It's not going to
Do
be.
you
Yeah, there are
Do you
people,
wanna have a
there are people
stop-
going in
Yeah.
all the time.
Say a quick
Yeah,
word about
being
this.
used.
Do you want to say a quick word about this at all?
Yeah, sure. I don't know what, but yeah, I'll try to make something up.
Well, we're leaving.
River here
We're
on
leaving
the
Hadlow College.
Persian Crimean granite.
It is, exactly.
At
Thank you,
Mottingham.
well put, Paul.
SE9, SE12.
It's a very sad, I think, that it's not used a little bit more, and it's very sad that these properties don't see it as a positive part of their land.
I think the contrast between here and Manor Park, where they actually incorporate their back gardens into the river very well, is quite clear.
Good point, Lawrence. It's lovely. This, what I will do, since we do, a part of this is imparting some history. There was a very funny occasion. We had a number of walks down here. There was a funny occasion when, as part of promoting Operation Kingfisher, which was our grand design for the whole river, I stood in the river at this point in Wellington, facing an audience of walkers. We weren't using waders at that time, and told them about Operation Kingfisher, and I explained how it was named for the remaining kingfishers that clung to the River Quaggy, but that I'd never seen a kingfisher. And at that very point, a kingfisher flew behind me down the river for everybody to see, apart from me. And they all went, "Oh, there's one!" And I missed it all.
Yeah, I will.
So now we're in the river alongside the New Lodge Riding School, and so they certainly do own halfway into the river, though it took me a long time to persuade them of that. They fenced off the river quite a time ago. It's not just the river they fenced off their whole side. So before that, the horses used to come down into the river, and there were a lot of grazed points down to the river, which gave the river a lot more variety of habitat along here. And in 1992, when we originally, or first contacted them, we were told that they had, by them, that they had water voles on this site. Now, I've just recently got in touch with the current manager, and she knows nothing about that. So she does point out that since they have had the river fenced off, they don't come down and look at the river, so they might not know about them. But that's maybe something for us to just keep an eye out for if there's any signs of such things. You might want to pull your waders up a bit, Dave. You're 1.5 inches from the top of your waders.
It's actually getting better.
It's getting shallow. It seems to be shallower over this side, actually.
There's pebbles. Mind you, Lawrence has done geography, so he's probably done geology as well within it. So we could ask him.
Is used for it.
Well, that looks like a retail outlet there, of some description.
I think that's either a gym or a health. I think it's Ballantyne's gym.
Oh, it looks like that's exactly right.
This was the entry point.
So what land is this?
Well, this is your chance.
It's the land that time forgot.
Take it up. Who owns this land? Because it's bizarre, it's big.
It's a big sports
It's huge and it's not used.
It's a lovely meadow, basically.
And it's completely open the other end. Whoa, 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 whoa.
It's quite tricky getting out here.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky.
Okay, so this and the previous walk are a lot about the Quaggy Link walk, which we want to combine into the green chain system, linking Sutcliffe Park and Chimbrook Meadows up just up here. Here already there's a footpath alongside the river, and I'm not sure who owns this side. We've got New Lodge Riding Stables on the other side of the river. They're very amenable and helpful, but here it's already there. And what a lovely piece of green space that probably isn't known about by many people. And that takes us straight into Hadlow College. Hadlow College's space not being used, and therefore ideal for creating a walk-through. Very easy to create a path along that section. Okay, should we get back in the
If you could follow the river, that would be ideal, wouldn't it? But it's all sort of, it's all playing fields.
You can see how high the water goes. Look, it goes up to here.
We get a bit of hard curbing, but actually is the base hard as well? It is. That is absolutely...
Well,
it just starts.
Dave was saying
here.
Marvel's Lane was done in the 70s,
Right.
so it's possible this channel was put in then.
Okay, so it's just started here, and there was one bit of concrete that seemed to have just been laid across the river just there, mysteriously.
It's odd because it looks almost natural. But anyway, so here we go. We don't know what we're going to find now. In fact, I think we can see some quite heavy culverting coming up.
Yeah.
So we're now tweeting to try and find out whether we can identify these small mammal holes.
Yeah.
So we want to try and get that sorted out.
Okay, so we're just in the last bit as we move upstream before we hit the concrete channel, and it'll be concrete channel from here up to Chimbrook Meadows. I was just talking to Dave about remembering the last walk we did with Quag here, and we came up onto the bank, and that was when Ray Manchester was chair. We had a little picnic up on the bank, and we walked down stream on that occasion. But always sad, really, to think of Ray as having gone. He was a good chair, and he organised some fun walks too. So lots of good memories.
Nice.
Okay, so now we enter the concrete channel, and the irony of this is that we are now on the green chain walk. As we follow the river in concrete, we are following one of the green chain walks. Wouldn't it be just brilliant to branch off from here and cut through this genuine green space? It's the old hospital site on the right here, and a really horrible bank of Lelandia trees to the right.
And that's a disused bridge, isn't it?
We should come back here in season. I had this idea last year that Quag should organise a blackberrying river walk, because there are many sites along the River Quaggy where, if you're in the river, you can access huge amounts of blackberries. And it would be just a brilliant way to get people down into the river. Really good fun getting to bring a container and show them all the sites where there are blackberries. Look at that. I mean, they're just draped down here, and clearly nobody's picked them. So easy to access if you've got the waivers. So here we are in this concrete channel, and here is the green chain walk alongside us. It turns away from the river here, but it does run all the way from Chimbrook Meadows up to this point, alongside this lovely concrete channel. So much better, as I was saying, if it could go through the more natural parts, just downstream. There are a number of bridges here too that could be utilised depending on where it's determined that the green chain walk would be best suited, left or right bank. But this is a much nicer, more direct route into Mottingham, and largely through very natural bits of river. Actually, we have Ray led a walk up in Mottingham Wood, where it's very lovely and natural.
Dave, do you know which...
Ray's going to do a little piece of camera in front of the tributary here.
Well, I shall follow him there.
This is yet another of the long lost tributaries that join the Quaggy. We don't think it's got a formal name. I think it's generally known today as the Mottingham Wood Stream, and Ray Manchester, he led a walk through the woods, and we did see where it began, the actual river began, and now we're seeing where it ends, where it joins the Quaggy. There's no way we can actually ever get to the stage of knocking this out, I don't think.
Sorry, it's text, Dave. Don't where this river disappears into concrete at Mottingham Wood, it goes under a housing estate, relatively new housing estate. For a long stretch at this point, it's coming straight across green space. So there is no reason why that couldn't be knocked out. And it's quite a pretty little stream up in Mottingham.
It is, yes, it was great. It's
a shame that it isn't the same here. And I was looking on the map, and they do list the owner of this site. This is all playing fields here. That's quite... We should have a torch. Who's got a torch? Oh.
So, I don't quite figure. What is this? What is this?
This is a tributary. Okay. So now we are in the concrete channel again, and we are on the corner of Sydenham Cottages Nature Reserve. And Thames 21 and Quag have applied for funds to do one of the projects outlined in Quag's Operation Kingfisher document of 1992-3, which suggests that this whole concrete wall could be smashed out and the wetlands that once were part of the nature reserve reintroduced. A nice easy win project. The land is owned by Lewisham Council, will be very keen to do that. It really improved the nature reserve. Nice easy access from the nature reserve too. Nice win. And once again we're alongside the green chain walk.
Why is it called Sydenham? The cottages are known as Sydenham Cottages.
Because?
Can I just ask a question?
Oh, that's very disappointing. You're so good on these things.
Can I just ask you a question?
Sydenham live there.
Sydenham,
yeah.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah, Sydenham. Saw him last week.
Yeah. Actually, it was Sid who did a lot.
Can I just ask you a question about this? If we were actually going to be knocking this down,
Yeah.
the fact that we are actually quite close to some new build behind you, would that be a point of concern in terms of flood alleviation?
No, hopefully whatever is done would improve flood alleviation. So the river is coming around the bend here, so the water is going to be pushed up on the outside. What this would do would be to create more space for the water to expand into. The main thing is trying to, with a lot of this restoration, it's about reconnecting the water with the land around it. So this concrete isolates the water from the land. So you don't get the wetlands and you don't get the water soaking into those, into the land around it, and you don't get it coming back out of the land in times when it's dry. So you get, the water is, in urban spaces, the rivers are flashy. Flashy is the term usually used for rivers in mountainous areas where there's lots of rock. And when it rains, they flash up. They come right up because the water rushes along the hard surfaces and enters the river quickly. We want to reconnect with the nice, soft, lovely, quaggy land around our lovely river Quaggy.
And the old channel is just, you can see the path of the old channel. So just about, this is completely new channel.
And this is Sydenham Cottages Nature Reserve, just downstream from Chimbrook Meadows.
The EA have been tackling the Japanese duckweed problem reasonably successfully.
The fences for the houses are set way back.
So there's nothing to stop you walking along the side of the river here?
You did walk along the top here.
I don't think you do.
On the green chain?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. It looked pretty overgrown to me.
The signs were going...
You come down this road here.
Yeah.
Oh. I thought I was right.
You were right.
You walked straight through. Yeah.
You were right. Okay. So it's already there.
It's already there, but there's still a little conflict with this. Oh, this is interesting. It's a voltage group.
Oh yes, look at the beautiful arches.
Well, those bits there, not in the hole.
Maybe it was like that.
And then they find a road or something like that. Yes, they have
Very
to
new
use bits.
regulation.
Yeah.
This does look like it.
Yes, it's where London Road. Yeah, it's in this business side. Wow. Oh, wow. This is just a little weir, is it, to the control flow or something?
Well, to enable them to measure the depth very accurately and the flows very accurately. So, but I don't actually know how it works.
Has it got sensors underneath?
I have no idea. I think it must have, because I think these are automated. But I'm not.
Is that what this is here?
Yeah, I think that's machinery in there. Yeah. I think it's probably got to transmit the data.
Yeah.
And the chain is there to stop motorbikes from driving into the park via the river.
Oh, and surfers.
Oh, surfers, yeah. To add a little bit of a trip for.
Aging station.
Yeah, there you go. National Grid reference on that. Some of this is the old concrete channel, you see, and then the new channel. So if you were able to go back there and do it so that you could look upstream and see where the concrete channel was.
And where it is.
Can you?
Yeah, do that.
Okay, here we are, arrived at one of the pearls at the end of the Quaggy link necklace that joins us with Chimbrook Meadows. And here you can see the line of the concrete channel, the old concrete channel we just walked up. and it used to go straight through the park, dividing the park into severing it. And now we have the naturalised River Quaggy running along here. The story really goes back to when Quag put together Operation Kingfisher in 1993 and described this project as one of those 14 sub-projects on the river. And then in 1996, together with Lewisham Council, Quag put together a millennium bid for funds to do this work. That failed, but at the same time, one of the successes was a 106 agreement suggested by Quag that Lewisham Council put in place on the developer here for about £60,000 in funds that went towards was designed to go towards a feasibility study for the restoration work. Years passed, and we'll take up the story a little bit later on, but about 3 years passed between then and when we actually got some movement on it. There was objections to this planning application that meant everything went quiet, and Quag waited, sat back to hear from Lewisham Council about the results of that 106 money. So we'll walk on through the park now, and we'll take up that story a little bit further on. The line of that fence.
So this is all.
And the other nice.
Hasn't it, from
Sorry?
being wet? This bit has progressed. The vegetation has.
Yes.
Yeah, the vegetation has grown up,
This-
filled it up, so it's no longer wet.
This has all grown up, yes, and that channel is no longer operating quite the way it was meant to be. You can see it is something. I don't know whether it's wet or whether it's just a path, but there are flag iris there, so I think it may be wet.
It's a high statement.
I mean, doing this, so a couple of interesting things. One of the nice stories is that there are these wetland scrapes or winter ponds that are created at the same time. And Julie Baxter was the architect for this project, and she was not just a great architect, and she did some really lovely things, and we'll talk about one of those a little bit later specifically. She was a lovely person too, and she had the JCB drivers wrapped around her little finger. And she came in here one day and she found there was an island in the middle of this little scrape that was not on her plan. She asked them about it and they said, oh, it was our idea. We built it, we thought it looked nice, please, can we keep it? And she let them keep it. But partly in return for that, she did ask them if they could go through to the other side, the upstream end of Chimbrook Meadows, which we will come to later, where the river was not in a concrete channel and where we did not have permission to do any work, because that end of Chimbrook Meadows is owned by Bromley Council. But the river did have tow boarding running alongside it. And she said, could you go through there one day when no one's looking? Can you get the JCBs through the tunnel under the culvert and just pull out all of that tow boarding? And they said, no problem. And it happened. That was the way you get things done. Let's go have a look at the bridge. The bridge over the River Quaggy, and this is, I think, a very significant bridge for a number of reasons. Firstly, it reconnects the two halves of the park, which had been divided by a concrete channel that was dangerous, so fenced off, ugly, so had a hedge along both sides of it. And it really turned the park into, well, it meant the park was two separate parks, and this river brings them back together. The other thing about this bridge relates to Julie Baxter, who I mentioned earlier. And this bridge needs to carry a fire engine, amazingly, for various reasons. that meant expense, and an off-the-shelf bridge was going to be an ugly, flat, boring thing. And Julie was absolutely determined that this was such a central part to this project, to the landscape, that she wanted it to be pretty, and she put a massive amount of effort into designing something that came in on budget, was affordable, and was strong enough. And it was something about that woman that was very, very special, that she went to those levels of detail, put that extra effort in. And I think it is a beautiful feature now that really highlights the river and that bringing together. The other thing to mention at this point is that there was an argument at the time between all the different parties that were involved in planning for this, between whether you need to plant up this newly restored river, seed it, or allow it to come back naturally and bring its own stuff in. And I suggested a way around that was to do half and half, so that we could see how the two different regimes worked. And that is in the end what happened, and the downstream end was allowed to colonise naturally, and the upstream end was seeded and planted. And interestingly, the downstream end, in the only survey that has been done, has got more diversity in it. It possibly was done the wrong way round. Also, it's probably not a very fair comparison, because it turns out downstream is much more heavily drained, it's much more gravelly, and the upstream bit is much more boggy and got much more sort of leaf litter in the ground. So I think that's enough for this, and then I think the next point we should just carry on that story of the River Quaggy, when in 1996 we were waiting for information from Lewisham Council. You want to
I was just going to say, can we do a group photograph, like the original group photograph? Yeah, people have been trying, because it's metal, and it's worth money, you know. It's unfortunately, and God knows, they really are. And there was a compass in the middle, and the thing is, it sort of ran the wrong way. They matched it up because they took it away for safekeeping when the prices were really high, and they put it back. They didn't put it back properly because the maps are actually on this side. The maps are supposed to go that way, so it's north-south, obviously, north-south on the maps. So the maps, it's very difficult.
It is a beautiful thing, and it's something you can take rubbings from as well.
Well, that's what it's designed for.
And it's got a lot of information in there. This is brilliant.
Yeah, I'm afraid I cost around a lot of money when I did this. Yeah. Because they didn't expect us to.
Okay, this is a point at which the concrete channel used to flow, and we have pictures of that concrete channel looking straight up with the railings both sides and the hedges both sides, and it's just so lovely, so different now. So I'm going to finish off that little story about how this project came about. In 1996 we were waiting to see what the result was of the planning application and the 106 funds towards a feasibility study for restoring the river. 3 years later, in 1999, everything started to happen. We learnt that the funds had been passed to Lewisham Council, and they had somehow been lost, £60,000 towards feasibility study here. At the same time, we also learnt that Lewisham Council had put together with newly appointed Glendales plans for this park that involved moving a lot of things right up against the concrete channel, which would have meant the concrete channel would never be able to be restored. So we had two issues going on all at once. It took until 2000, I think, and a number of meetings with a lot of people within the council insisting that people would not want a restored river here. They would want other facilities instead. When we finally got public meeting, it was quite clear that nearly everybody was in favour of restoring the river, even though they'd not seen it done anywhere else before. And then very quickly a team of people was put together with Quaggy playing a central role. I had forgotten to say, actually, in that same year, 1999, I came down here with a number of people from the Environment Agency to talk about the restoration, and they could see the potential of it, and they offered £250,000 towards the restoration. And even with that offer on the table, it took a long time to get the local council to come and sit and talk to us, because the Environment Agency couldn't hand that money to Quaggy. We weren't the owners. They needed an invite from the owners. Anyway, so that was a big year of change, 1999. By 2000 we had a team of people, a partnership, and by 2002, in January, the bulldozers moved in, and in June 2002 the park reopened with a newly restored river. Quaggy organised a walk to celebrate that. We had over 100 people turn up to that walk. It's a fabulous event. But perhaps the last sad thing to mention on all of this is all that effort put in by Quaggy, all that time persuading people. When the opening event was announced, Quaggy did not receive an invite to it, and it was only through the intervention of the local councillor, Barry Anderson, that was put right, and I was given an opportunity to say something at that opening event. But it was that opening event that Steve Bullock, the mayor of Lewisham, said, "I want this for Ladywell Fields." It was a real road to Damascus kind of point for a lot of people within Lewisham to see what it was we've been talking about. And I have had both one of the officers from the Parks Department and my MP of the time, Bridget Prentice, come up to me afterwards, years later, and say, "We didn't really understand what this was all about, and we're so glad that you pushed it and got this one through, because now everybody can see what it is." And it just shows the importance of having a project on the ground to demonstrate to people what you're really talking about, because it is quite a hard thing for people to visualise. Okay, so here we are in the upper half of Chimbrook Meadows. So this is upstream of the railway embankment, and this is the bit I was referring to earlier, where Julie Baxter persuaded her JCB drivers to come through that tunnel over there one dark night. Actually, I don't think it was a dark night, but it was clearly a clandestine operation, and they brought their JCBs in here and they tore out all of the tow boarding along here. And before that was done, there was no growth at all down into the river. So it has made a real difference. But this bit of the river was always meandering and relatively natural, just with tow boarding. The last thing I wanted to point out was over here. Now I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but there you can see where the river enters the park. Last week we walked inside the culverts of Sutcliffe Park, and there is a real issue about the river coming in too low in the park, giving it too low a gradient. What we found was that just at the point of the culvert coming in under the park, there is about a 1.5 metre drop. Now if that drop was removed and the ground was broken out at that point, you would have a river entering the park very like that. There's no need to have any gratings or grills on that. Nobody has any gratings or grills on that. And I think that's the way the river should be entering Sutcliffe Park, and it should be flowing in its entirety through the park from that point. You would still get all of the flood works operating through the existing mechanisms and storing water in the culvert, but it would give you more energy because it would be coming in higher, and it would give you more energy because it would be all flowing through, and it would not get blocked, because at the moment we have those structures, narrow holes for the water to get through, and grills all blocking up on a regular basis in Sutcliffe Park. Whereas here, no problem. Okay, so we'll just walk to the golf course now, and then that's it, we'll come back. This has just brought us to the end of Sunbridge Park Golf Course, which is where the final walk will be done, I think in May, by the rest of you. And this is as far as we go, but I just wanted to bring people up to here so that they could see, get a little look at Sunbridge Park Golf Course. It's very extensive, there's quite a lot to see in here. There's a lot of tributaries, a lot of the river was in brick culverts which used to collapse all the time, and they've had the river restored for that reason within the park, but apparently it looks like they're doing some work now in there. Anyway, the river underground between